Halt.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true sacred love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, thou true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
No matter where you go, there's always so much technology that you're trying to sort out. All right, I think we're good. Well, Pastor, thanks for having me. Maybe I'm not sure if my dad maybe browbeat you into into this presentation, but I'm very appreciative to get the opportunity to stand here and just talk a little bit about kind of my approach and my service and what that's all meant, and blend that a little bit for those of you that don't know me. My transition, I guess you could say, from service in the military has been to songwriting, and so that's been going fairly well. I actually managed to record a studio album this spring, and we're going to hear a couple songs throughout this. So all the songs we're going to hear during this presentation are originals of mine, and you can vote on how that's like. I was taken back when we talk about this, because I remember distinctly the day that I was at school and they were asking us what we wanted to do with our lives, what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I'm still trying to answer that question, to be honest. But I said at that time that I wanted to be a soldier, or I wanted to join the RCMP. There were two things going on in my life at the time. And I spent basically the rest of the afternoon trying to explain to my teachers why I would want to join the military, which was an interesting conversation from the beginning. But it shaped my approach to it from that beginning. I remember distinctly as well. When the time came, I had gone through the recruiting process, and the time I've been offered a position in the military, and Dad was at work at the mill, and I went and got him out and said, hey, they offered me the position, and should I take it or not? And we had a talk, and the thought was, do Christians go to war? So that's kind of what shaped my professional approach, and ended up doing it for 30 years. So that's kind of where I came from as a professional in the military, and what I kind of wanted to do with it all. So that's kind of where it all comes from. The rest. So I'm just going to take you through a little bit of a presentation on where it's going. So that's kind of up there in the wall now. Picture representative of kind of what my used to life be and what I hope the rest of my life might be. But go to the next slide, please. So who I am, we had a couple of young people here today that spent some time in cadets. that's where I got the hook in me, as I got the chance to experience Army cadets as a young man, and I got to see the North, and I got to see Germany during that time, and that kind of planted the seed on the fact that you could see the world and have someone else pay for it. It was at that point was going through my mind. I was a horrible student, but somehow 30 years later I have 3 degrees, and I don't know how that happens. Because and a couple certificates thrown in there too. So if you're not a good student, I can tell you that there's hope for you, because you can still finish. So Brittany, you can get through that. It's all gonna work out for you. When I did finally get through school, I reported to my unit, which was an armor unit, tanks and light armor vehicles. I spent my early career doing that. It was a lot of fun. And then I eventually I applied for and was selected for our Special Operations Forces. And I spent almost a decade doing counterterrorism and weapons of mass destruction stuff. So there's some operational deployments, and I'll show you the map with some of the world we get to see. So next slide, please. So that's what it looked like. So pretty much over my career, I got to play with tanks and to wear a gas mask most of the time when I wasn't behind a desk filling out paperwork. All right, next slide. And you can build this one. There's a bunch of tabs, and you'll see a bunch of stuff come up on the map. So it just basically gives you a sense of where I got to be over the world. So just lucky enough, I'm old enough to have done my basic training on the West Coast. They don't do it there anymore, they do it in Quebec. Got to do some training in the States. And saw my first conflict zone in Bosnia. Became part of our counterterrorism units. And spent a lot of time out west doing training there. Some time in the States, working with our American compatriots. Spent some time in England, and then got to work with foreign partners all over Southeast Asia. So that was fairly interesting. And finally, I saw a couple more areas of the Middle East and Africa, Western Africa in particular. And then finally, 2 more conflict zones, the Middle East and Eastern Africa. And that'll do it for that. I've been very lucky to get to see the majority of the world on this adventure. And what it taught me is that Canada's a pretty good place. We talk a lot about sort of things that we can do better, and that's why we live in a democracy, and everybody gets a say at least once in a while. But we have the freedom to be here today and do what we're doing. So first of all, I want to take you through all that experience, kind of just germinated into this. It's called One Guard for the Units in the Chief. If you want to follow around. Hear the president say, you shouldn't get involved. We're not a warlike nation. Every night on TV, oppose Mr. Lyle, folks. Does he not make this sound beautiful? Yeah, next slide. So, when I talk to Christians about, what service is about and what the use of violence is about, because that's really what it is. We like to sometimes sugarcoat things and, service and military and there was war, but we have to be prepared to offer violence. And the question is, do Christians go to war? Do Christians offer violence? Well, I am certainly not a pastor. And if I say anything that's non-biblical here, you gentlemen will step on me right now. But I did a little reading. And certainly through the Old Testament. And it began in heaven with a rebellion and a war. And then murder and sin came into the world. Greed. And a list of battles throughout. I'm not going to list everything through yet. There's a unique, interesting thing here in Exodus chapter 14 with the battle of the Amalekites. Genesis chapter 14. Abraham goes to rescue Lot. That's the first recorded special operations mission. So when people go in and, rescue hostages and things like that, well, first one was recorded in the Bible. Yeah. So anytime military want to say, is there history? Is Christian history true? Well, it matches up. All the way down through war with the Philistines, we get the story of David and Goliath that we, celebrate so well. We celebrate the defeat of an enemy, and that means the killing of an enemy, the beheading of an enemy. Okay. So violence was something that I had to come to terms with as a professional. And was I willing? Could I offer it? And what did that mean to me? With everything else that had been going on. So there was a biblical platform for me to come from and to hold that true, because the real issue is violence can be taken too far, and violence can be done in a wrong way. There's a whole debate in philosophy and religion about just war. It doesn't mean it just why we go to war, but it also means how we go to war. We need to do the right things for the right reasons in the right way. And I believe God helps us do that. Next slide, please. I'm not going to read every line on this. This is just a timeline to help us out. But there's kind of, when you get to Canada, so we talk about pre-1867 colonies when essentially France and England started settling the New World. You get the pre-Dominion Canada, the colonies, and the struggle for power, essentially between world powers and the alignment of Indigenous folks with those powers. There's a lot of struggle, a lot of back and forth. We're in a time where Canadians are coming to terms with our past. And again, violence without right reason and right method will always lead us astray. Okay, so has Canadians made errors? Absolutely. Okay, and there are things that we need to account for in that as well. But okay, we need to be honest, as we talk about our history and know where we came from and how we got here. But there was always a history of we often pride ourselves or say that we are not a violent nation. It's not true at all. If you follow our history, there's been plenty of it. Okay, next slide. So we get into the Dominion of Canada, post-1867, and essentially what happens from here on is we do what kind of mom and dad tell us, and that mom and dad is Britain. They've signed us, they've kind of given us the driver's license. We can use the car, and we can go pick up, do errands and stuff like that, but we kind of still do what they say.
And we serve in the Boer War, throughout the World Wars. But it's in World War I, in a battle called Vimy in April of World War I, that Canada truly becomes its own. Because for the first time, all of Canadian forces get together and defeat and win a battle that none of the other allies could do at the time. Now, it's a point of pride, of course, but it's all about context. But we should be proud of that as a nation. It's where we as Canada kind of put our mark in the world and decided that we as Canadians could have a voice in the world. And that's where it came from, the fact that we were able to successfully prosecute that battle. And if you think there wasn't violence involved in that, then of course that's not true. Up through 1965, where we adopted the maple leaf. So a lot of times people get mistaken that this flag that we know as Canada today, that's what we've kind of accomplished under, and it wasn't true. We had a different flag, the Red Ensign, up until 1965, where all those battles occurred. And when I was in college, I wrote a piece about our flag, being disrespected, and was it because it didn't have any blood on it, because we hadn't, gone to war with the maple leaf. But since then we have. So we've now gone through a war with the maple leaf, and it does have blood on it. Next slide, please. All right, modern Canada, post-World War II, we got involved in our alliances. Okay, and you see a lot about this in the media now when we talk about intergovernmental affairs. What's Canada's role in the world? Do we want a voice? And if we do, then we need to play at the big boy table. Okay, if we're going to be relegated to the children's table, then we won't have a voice. And other people will decide what the world around us looks like. And this will become more and more important. If you look around Canada, if you think, is there a future? Then, there's a lot of natural resources in Canada that the rest of the world would like. And if we don't have a say over it, somebody else will. So we go through, we play our role on the world stage, and we serve in a place called Afghanistan, and 153 Canadians come home in coffins draped with a maple leaf that now has blood in it. And we are questioning ourselves, post that, did it go how we wanted it to? Did we do the right things? And it's good. When we offer violence, when we go into something where we take human lives, we should, be mindful and prayerful of that, and ask ourselves, did we do the right thing for the right reasons? And if we didn't, then we need to check ourselves and follow in. For a personal take on it, I think we did. Did it work out the way that we hoped it would? No. That's life. There's a lot of, think about the thing, just simple things in your life that didn't work out the way you thought they should. Well, war is a pretty complex thing, and it won't necessarily work out the way you wanted it to. But it was simple in my mind, in my young professional mind, when all this was going on, 2001 through the early 2000s. They came here. They came to North America, and they had no problem slaughtering people for what they thought, and we took it back to them and tried to set some things right. We did a lot of good things were done by Canada and Afghanistan, but they didn't stand the test of time, because again, things built on sand versus built on the rock that we know. Next slide, please. Where we are today, everybody is following the war in the Ukraine, the war in the Middle East. Certainly the Middle East is ongoing over history, but it always ranks up and down. Where we're at, I've already spoken about our natural resources. What do we want? Where we want to be on the world stage, and where we are as Christians. Do we pay attention to international affairs and what our elected officials are doing, who they're siding with? It would be easy for me to stand here and talk about, a religious perspective on Israel, but you can come to any pastor and any service, you'll get that. You know what my background is, and just to put it in a context in terms of world affairs, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Okay? It is the only country where Arabs, Muslims, every walk in faith can be present and doing a thing. They actually have a gay community in Israel. Okay, and that's not something that we are proud of here, but to understand, when we talk about who's doing where our alignments are with countries. Okay, Israel is, we understand it from the Bible. Okay, but if you're not coming at it from a Bible perspective, they are a beacon of light and democracy in a part of the world that does not exist. Try existing as a woman, as a minority, as someone who does not believe the culture and faith of those particular countries. Try existing, and then try existing in Israel. And there's a vast and distinct difference. I tell Canadians all the time, it's important to travel. It's important to travel across Canada, learn our areas of Canada, but understand the world around us does not see things the way we do. And when we can interact, and there are times when a hard line must be drawn. And it is unfortunate. I wish we didn't have to. I wish we could pick up a guitar, sit around a campfire, sing Kumbaya, the Lord's coming, and it would all be good. But everyone here has lived long enough to know that simply isn't how the world works. And I'll talk a little bit about that as I close out. But let's go to the next slide, please. All right. So here we are today. Tomorrow will be Remembrance Day, and it's 11/11/11. We call it the 11th day, the 11th hour, the 11th month. That in 1917, this was the end of the First World War. They call it the Great War. It was supposed to be the war to end all wars, and it was just the beginning of what was to follow. All it was preamble to what happened in World War II, and a lot of what we're shaping today. Okay, you can follow that line right through to what's going on in the Ukraine today, and even in the Middle East. Okay, if you look at kind of how nations were formed post World War I, post World War II, empires that rose and fell, and how they shape today, you can follow that to right there. But in all of this, there's always been, the presence and a right and a foundation to do things, and people who are willing to make those stands. Next slide, please. All right, so you saw the memorial, and we talk about, where our heroes go to rest. So when I was in the Armored Regiment, the Royal Canadian Dragoons, we had 7 soldiers from my regiment killed in Afghanistan while I was serving with the regiment. And I was the honor guard commander for 2 of those funerals. One was at their hometown down in London. The other one was in the National Cemetery in Ottawa. And post the ceremony, after we had laid the soldier to rest, I was standing around talking with some fellow compatriots. And a gentleman had made the comment, they had previously purchased a plot in their hometown. So soldiers have the right to get a plot in the National Cemetery if they want, and that's where their final resting place can be. And this soldier in particular had previously purchased a plot in their hometown in Nova Scotia, but they were looking around and they said, I think I'm going to change it and wish to come here. And I said to him, as we looked around at all the tombstones there of really national service, I said, well, you'd be in good company. And as soon as I uttered the words, I went home that night, because I knew that was a song. I went home that night, in about 20 minutes I wrote this. G again. Hello, Mama. bitter storm. Beside me lies the one who tried to take the hit for me. Oh, there's no words, Mom. I'm in good company. Susanna, she dropped by. Oh, just the other day. Said the kids are growing up now. All they'll soon be on their way. She said she still misses me. Every night when she lays down, Billy Johnson came around, wants to take her on the town. I told her Billy is a good man. Oh, she sure did feel free. She deserves to be happy, Mom. I'm in good company. She came in, he walked past on the street. Up there on Vinny Ridge, Davis Country Club. Then as you came down the line, all our history is told. From Battle Hill to Pan's Way Sing, it's all chiseled there to stone. Beside me lies the one who tried to take the hit for me. Well, there's no words, Mom. I'm in good company. So it's kind of how we feel here today, right? We're in good company. Next slide, please. Yes, Silver Cross. All right. So, if everyone, I'm sure most people have heard the Silver Cross mother this year came from New Brunswick. Silver Cross is originally was designed for mothers. If you lost, your loved ones in war, the mother was presented with the Silver Cross. And in the last 15 years or so, Canada has changed that to not just be mothers, recognition that families come in all kinds of different types now. So each soldier gets to select 3 members of their family, up to 3 that will get Silver Crosses should they fall in operations, is what we call it now. We try to refrain from saying war, but when your loved one pass away in a violent circumstance, it sure feels a lot like war. But the Silver Cross is presented to those families, and a heavy cross to bear. So with this one, I thought about that notion, and certainly the notion, and we understand the cross, that Christ carried that cross and the burden that it was as he carried that cross up Golgotha Hill. And I thought the similarities, in the spirit that a mother particularly must carry, that her son, her daughter, has paid the ultimate price for what we have here today. So I wrote a song about it, but it's on my album that I recorded this year, and I actually did 2 versions of it. I have a version where I sing the song, but I felt that my version of it is very much as an observer, and it's true because my inspiration was that I was at these ceremonies where we were presenting mothers and wives with their silver crosses, and I got to see it as an observer. But the idea of what that mother, that wife must be feeling just drove me. And when I went into the studio, I brought in a female vocalist, and we had a discussion, and I told her what the song was about and how she did. And she was able to tap into a pain. Her sister had coincidentally had lost a child, not in war, but had lost a child anyway. But she felt that pain, and she was able to bring out a song. And I think that this one works a little better than for me. So.
She hardly heard a word the man had to say. Spoke about honor, it sounded so cliche. He handed her a flag, folded with such care. She just kept thinking how she wished her boy was there. Eulogy lamented how he'd done his best. Rifles fired and bagpipes faded, laid him to rest. Final words, ma'am, sorry for your loss. Couldn't ease the burden of a little silver cross. It's just a brooch hanging by a simple chain. On the back's engraved a broken-hearted mother's name. A simple testimony of such great cost, so frail to bear the weight of that little silver cross. Service ends, widow's back into her life. Burden of her whole world gone, adding to her strife. Shoulders are sunken beneath the heavy load. She wonders if she'll make it out on this lonely road. Into the fountain of bygone days, all her penny thoughts she'll toss, searching for the strength to carry a little silver cross. It's just a brooch hanging by a simple chain. On the back's engraved a broken-hearted wife's name. Simple testimony, such great cost, so young to bear the weight of a little silver cross. Lord, from Calvary, pray you understand my loss. Give me strength to carry this little silver cross.
It's tough to see a flag burn after you've seen one folded like that. We've already talked about the poppy. Dad read out the poem in Flanders Fields that makes up this time of year. I'm sure most people know, but Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae was a Canadian doctor in the First World War, wrote in Flanders Fields. And you know, so much today, so much back and forth about, you know, what the poppy is and what it means. Do we, you know, is it some glorification. Doesn't mean we did something. It's not any of that. It's simply that people gave their lives for what this nation should be, what God wants it to be. And that's all it is. All right, next slide, please. So I'm going to wrap up with these thoughts here. I don't have the answers. Okay, I'm proud of the fact that I got 30 years service into my crown and country, and I tell people all the time, I'm just a boy from the woods in New Brunswick. I got to see the world. A lot of that world was not necessarily good places, but a lot of it was. I got to see humans from every tribe and nation and culture, and we have a lot more to unite us than we have to divide us. And if we can, find that place, that peace in God that will allow us to interact peacefully with each other, and we all know the day is coming. All I can say is that for me personally, the blueprint of sacrifice thread itself through life. I could see that, when I had an answer, for those teachers who asked me on that day, why do you want to serve in the military? What does a Christian do in that? And all I can say is that there is a blueprint of sacrifice. And that blueprint was personified at Calvary on a cross, where you had an innocent man. He was the popular choice of citizens. When you think about, politics today, we talk about popularization, popular vote. Okay, well, the popular mood of that day was to put an innocent man on the cross. There were traitorous disciples. Okay, so friends that are very close to us. Okay, that doesn't mean anything necessarily, but a price for eternal freedom was paid. Okay, prices were paid for freedoms. We have to keep paying them. We keep forgetting humanity. We keep forgetting, that prices were paid, and here we are potentially on the cusp. There's a solid argument to be made that we're already in World War III. Okay, if you think about kind of what's going on today, and you put that, say, in the late 30s, it's hard to argue against it. Is Canada going to get pulled into it? Well, the world's smaller than it ever was, and I don't know if it as the flames, spread, how we're not going to. I hope we're not, but I hope we're not. Next slide, please. All right. So when I thought about this blueprint of sacrifice and the loss, and eventually, what is the sacrifice and the loss for? There has to be a redeeming quality for it. Otherwise, it's all for naught and for uselessness, right? And that's what we can't do. So this song that I wrote blends those two things. And surprise, it's in G again, brother. What a day that must have been. What an awful sense of loss. Great Messiah, kingdom come, nailed there to the cross. Mother Mary, she lay weeping as the soldiers walked away. Faithful carried to the tomb. life. Down a wide and road, head bowed low by Sinner's Drive. I felt crushed by the preacher said this altar's open for those who wish to be free. I sat trapped in a pew. By the way I could not see, but that ain't where the story ends. God caused the sun to rise again on the dawn of my redemption day. All the stones rolled away. I thank God on my redemption day. When the stones rolled away. So there is sacrifice, there is loss. You can go to the next slide. And the point is, I don't know. Well, I understand sort of once sin comes into the world that there has to be a sacrifice. But the design, that's the design. We struggle with it, and people, this is where, when I'm talking with folks who just want to believe in a peaceful world, that if we all just lay our arms down, that it'll all work out. But the truth of it is that good and evil exists. And as long as evil exists, it will take advantage of good. And good has to draw a line. There's no getting around it, not that I can see. I've spent 30 years as a professional. I got 3 degrees, a master's degree. I've been immersed in the Bible since the time I was 2 years old. I've meshed those things together. And I can't, I'm happy to, be educated, be learn another way. If so, that means, I kind of wasted my career, I guess. But I don't feel that way. I've looked into the eyes of Bosnian children. I've sat at tables with Middle Eastern men and women, and I've interacted and delivered food to Africans. And it's just, all of it has just showed me that since sin has entered the world, there's good and evil, and that all it takes for evil to succeed is for good to do nothing. And I'm not prepared to do nothing. So to end it off, I'm going to end it off with a song that I did not write, but it's a song that I'm sure everybody knows, and I would be happy if you would all join me. And as we sing it out, I'm going to ask the pastor to come back and do what he wants to close out this service.